So why is this CEO of a car company, I think it's NIO in China, crying about the USA tariffs, which is going to be 100% on EV or Chinese cars coming in, or possibly coming into the United States? Think of it like this. In 1979, let's do a little bit of history. In 1979, China opened its borders, and a lot of the Western world say, let us help you by free trade, free tariffs. So you can export all your stuff without any taxes incurred on the product. Fantastic. And China took great advantage of this to help them develop. So what China has to be very grateful for modern China, for developed China, is the West for allowing them to start off. And it was a friendly gesture. Chinese government, communist government just kept on going with this. And then when they were or started to be developed, let's say at the turn of the century, then people wanted tariffs. I said, okay, now you're developed, now let's trade like the rest of the world and you have to pay tariffs. And what China did was actually, well, if you want to buy, let's say, a Ford in China, you will have to pay 78% tax and tariffs, etc., to have that car in China.
US and EU have put steep tariff increases on the imports of Chinese EVs.
This reporter here is called Li Jingjing, and she posts quite often on YouTube. She posts quite often on Twitter. Hence, this is where I got the video from. And this is what I really disagree with. How come China can post their media on our social media, or not our, like the West, like YouTube and also, again, Twitter, but we from the West cannot post on Chinese social media? It's so unfair. People don't talk about this, but I will be open with it. Let's continue for what she has to say.
Chinese EV makers reacted to this. I spoke to Li Bin, the CEO of leading EV maker NIO. This is what he thinks.
And let's see this crybaby CEO saying, oh, it's so unfair. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
我觉得对新能源汽车行业去征收这样的关税是没有什么道理的，因为这件事情它本身来说，它对可持续的发展，对整个全球解决气候变化问题都是一件好的事情。那我觉得，如果非要政治化一些别的领域，我觉得可以理解。但是我认为对这个行业去做是没有道理的。中国的这个政府对全球都是非常开放的。那比如说，不管是特斯拉在中国，还是大众，对吧？在中国，还是全球的所有汽车企业在中国。
And for those people who know my cats, this is Little Pickle. She's listening very, very closely, aren't you? Yes, you are. Ooh. There's an old saying I used to get for one of my colleagues when I used to work. Here's a bridge, get over it, and resolve the situation. Don't cry about it. Go to commerce in the Communist Party and say it is so unfair because if I want to buy a Mercedes or a Ford or a Renault or Sichuan, etc., I have to pay all this tax in China. So why can't, what is the reason, why can't America put on tariffs on Chinese cars? Because the Chinese government do it exactly the same. So if you want equal fair trade, then you got to respect both countries. It's not one rule for China and another rule for the rest of the world.
哦，日妈着了，真的凶，着急，现成。哎，哦，日妈就得等，靠玻璃。
And yes, I know people are going to joke with my pronunciation, but the thing is, if Jonathan Ross can do it, well, so can I.
ยังขายมันถง 刚才去跟奶奶去房间跟奶奶去。
But here's the other thing. Why would anyone want an electric car? You can't sell it because who's going to buy a second-hand battery? The lithium batteries, as I've shown a little bit today, well, they seem to automatically or spontaneously combust. And I know the EV owners, the evangelists will say, well, a gasoline car or an ICE car will combust more than an electric car. I am also happy to see that Tesla are introducing, possibly in the near future, sodium batteries, which have less internal or spontaneous combustion or explosions, whatever you call it, which is a good thing. And in Japan, they are developing H2 cars. There's even a bicycle in Japan now. I don't think you can buy it yet, but you fill it up with water and it can actually go something like 93 kilometers. I don't know the speed or whatever, but that's the way forward, I do believe.
这个把小时以内这是下不去了呀。东海高架。
I would love to hear your point of view. Now, constructive criticism. Do you agree? Do you like electric cars, or do you absolutely hate them? They are sort of the future, but in the end, we will have no choice. Yeah, it's really good or a lot better for the environment than it is now. But at the same time, please don't do personal criticisms like I'm a fat person, I'm an old person. Polite, courteous. Don't do personal insults. I won't read them. I won't block them, but I just will ignore them. And you will look the stupid party. Now, I know I do have some CCP people who do watch this channel, and they will always criticize that I am wrong and everything in China is great. A lot of things in China are great. It may be a great place to live. If you're happy in a way that you can't criticize the government, you can criticize the government, they say, but only in a positive way. You can't do negative. So when you see these videos about freedom of speeches in China, you could say they are just shilling. They are just sort of like working or spinning the government's narrative there in China.